Well, Colombia's digital nomad visa, what you need to know and how you can get it. My name is Cesar Castro. I'm CEO and the attorney of the law firm, founding partner, and let's begin. Well, of course, as a law firm, we're composed of different specialized attorneys. Of course, me as a CEO, I'm specialized in corporate law as well as immigration. We have Nicolas Serafino, he's in charge of Panama. We also have Veronica Ruales, she's in charge of Ecuador. We have Olga Lucia, who is here actually. She's one of the participants. She's CPA in Colombia. She helps us with all these interesting topics that a lot of people have been posting on social media in regards to taxes and compliance on all these fabulous topics. Susana Caicedo, she's our certified translator. She's the person that if there's any need of translating a document, which happens a lot, not for the digital nomad visa, but for other types of visas, she's the person we go to. We have Sandra Silva, which is the financial expert. And social media. We have Catherine Zollars, our law group on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and also we have our website. I recommend you guys following on Instagram. We have a lot of different reels giving you insight on different types of contracts, what to keep in mind to sign a lease agreement, all these different topics, not only immigration. If you guys have any legal topic that you want to talk about, that you want to confirm about, it's important to always consult with an expert. Fortunately, I'm bilingual, so I can help you understand. I've been in both sides, so I understand what it's like to be in the US and what it was like to be an expat at a time. So I can help you, especially now that I'm, since I've been a licensed attorney, I've been helping a lot of expats kind of understand these different rules. So if you go to Instagram, follow us. We're always posting information that is relevant, that is important, that may help you, and different kinds of stories. We also have LinkedIn and our website if you want to check out more information. These are the topics that we will be covering today. Digital nomad visa in Colombia, benefits of digital nomad visa, requirements, duration, recommendation, tips, how do taxes work, experiences, and testimonials. Digital nomad visa in Colombia, introduction and overview. Digital nomad visa, specialized visa permitting remote living and working in a foreign country, allowing visa holders to operate their business or job online within Colombia. So basically, this is for people that are working abroad. They want to come to a different country. They have the option of working remotely. Their company gives them that benefit of having a contract, but they can work remotely from anywhere in the world. So this is a big topic, something that came about, after the pandemic exploded, and the Colombian government realized this in October of last year. They came out with the resolution 5477, which of 2022, which is all related to immigration. It was kind of like a huge structure change in immigration law, but it also brought the digital nomad visa, which is something that was fabulous because it helped people that, before you would have to have a work permit, you would have to invest $25,000 in some sort of company, you'd have to purchase an apartment, different complicated situations. What the digital nomad visa did is it kind of just opened the doors for people to come over, stay here 1 or 2 years, and then go on to another country, et cetera, et cetera. Colombia's Digital Nomad Visa, a strategic initiative designed to invite international professionals and entrepreneurs capable of remote work, which in turn fuels local economic growth. Like I mentioned, the Colombian government understood this new change after the pandemic. A lot of countries were doing this before. I believe Chile was the one who first implemented digital nomad visa. But then Colombia realized it was an opportunity for growth, for the economy, an opportunity for it's a win-win for expats to come over, for the economy of Colombia to grow. So that's why they came out with Resolution 5477. Eligibility. open to individuals employed, running a business, or freelancing outside of Colombia with ability to execute their work remotely through digital technologies. So, like I mentioned, as long as you're employed, you're able to work remotely, then it doesn't have to be just that you're employed directly. You can be a freelancer, you can have a service agreement or employment agreement. As long as you're sponsored or whoever your client is, because if you're a freelance, you probably work for your client, and you know, as long as there's this ability for them to, indicate that you work or that you have a contract with them, then it opens up the doors in regards to the legal requirements. Key criteria to process and necessitates proof of a steady income, health insurance, and commitment to uphold Colombian laws. So it's very important that I will be covering this, more specifically, but that you have income that's sufficient in regards to 5477 health insurance, but not any health insurance. It has to be a travel insurance. A lot of people tell me, Caesar, maybe I can get like a local insurance. No, no, but I'll explain that, in the next slides. And of course, like in any country, just uphold the local law. Benefits of the digital nomad visa in Colombia. Well, if you're not a digital nomad yet, flexible work-life balance. This visa facilitates a balanced work-life dynamic in Colombia, a country rich in diversity, beauty for remote workers. So it's something that, a lot of people have mentioned to me. It's great. I'm in Cartagena, I'm in Armenia, and I'm working. I get to see this beautiful view. It just gives you this state of mind that helps you as a worker to just, to enjoy this beautiful country and work. You can rent an Airbnb, with a pool and just work near the pool and just relax, have a great experience, which is, Colombia offers that in its beauty and its landscapes and everything. Affordable living. This is something that's very important. Colombia's lower cost of living relative to many developed countries offers affordable options for housing, food, transport, and healthcare. You can't compare. There's people that, I lived in California for many years. Rent there's it's crazy. It's, $1,000. I don't know how it is now because I haven't lived there for a while. But you can't compare. You can come here in Colombia, you go to Armenia, you go or an Airbnb and get a nice big apartment or a house or a finca, or a farm, and just live very well. And it gives the opportunity of good prices in food and transportation. You can take Uber, and depending on where you're located, and healthcare, because once you get your visa approved, you get something that's called cédula extranjería. It's an ID card. And with this ID card, you can get healthcare. You can get local healthcare, which is, the prices are ridiculously low. So that if you have, family members, if yourself, you have certain health conditions, you can get good prices and get medications for a low cost. Networking opportunities. A growing digital nomad community in Colombia opens up avenues for networking, collaboration with other remote professionals. I'm going to give you an example. We have here Nadia and Francois. They're from the Digital Nomad Association. Highly recommend them. They're on Facebook. These guys, they gave me the opportunity of doing my first webinar in their community. And these are groups that help you out a lot. If you want to join them, join them. It's great. They have, different opportunities for expats, information. You can also get a membership. And these communities help because you can see different opportunities. For example, here in Bogota, they have Gringo Tuesday, where you can meet people, socialize, not only for businesses, but just share stories, share experiences, which is great. You can share these experiences with other digital nomads, and these communities help. Like I said, like Gringo Paisa, in Facebook, and like I mentioned, the Digital Nomad Association is great. I recommend them highly. They have great information, great a great community. It's a growing community. It's growing tremendously. So that's another advantage. You get to network with different people and share these beautiful stories. Local service access. Digital nomad visa holders are granted complete access to local services such as banking, healthcare, and telecommunications. Usually is restricted to tourists. Let me explain. For example, if you come in with your tourist permit, that's what it's called. It's not a visa, it's a tourist permit, which is 190 days. You're not able to open up a bank account. You can't get a cable. You can't pay for your cable service. You depend a lot on the Airbnbs, which is great. But the good thing with the digital nomad visa is that once you get your visa approved, you get what is called so that's like I mentioned, it's an ID card. It's kind of like a driver's license in the States or maybe in Europe or other countries. And with that, you can open up a bank account. You can sign a lease agreement. You don't have to depend on Airbnb anymore, maybe get better prices. You can, get healthcare, like I mentioned before. You can enroll into EPS, which is kind of like the local health insurance in Colombia. It's really cheap. It's not expensive at all. And that's what the digital nomad visa provides. It gives you this opportunity to, enroll in different things. As though it gives you opportunity to lower costs. Because a lot of times with not saying anything bad about Airbnb, it's great. But maybe you can get a lease for 1 year at a better price. You never know. I mean, it just gives you better opportunities, gives you options. Longer stay and duration. The visa allows for extended stays beyond typical tourist visa limits, offering immersive Colombian culture experience. Like I said, if you're a person that is interested in just, for example, want to stay 180 days, which legally you have the right to stay here every year. You have 180 days, which is 90 plus an extension of another 90 days for a total 180. But if you're thinking of staying longer, the digital nomad visa gives you up to 2 years. So maybe you can get 1 to 2 years of an extended stay and have, take advantage of this beautiful country and experience and not be limited to only 6 months during the year. Enriching cultural experience. Residing in Colombia offers opportunities to learn Spanish and to engage with the country's vibrant culture, cuisine, history, and natural scenery. So it's a great opportunity. You can learn Spanish, which a lot of people do. For example, we have here Nadia in the group. She's a great person. She is the person that's the founder of the Digital Nomad Association. She also offers Spanish courses if you're interested. And this is great because you can learn another language, engage with the culture, the cuisine, which is Colombian food. It's great. I mean, here there's the bandeja paisa. You have ajiaco, which is like a type of soup. Different things that you can try, experience, and take advantage of. Now we're going into the legal part, the requirements and duration of the digital nomad visa in Colombia. Visa duration. The Colombian digital nomad visa is valid up to 2 years, providing an extended time frame for digital nomads to integrate into Colombian society and culture. Something that I have to be very clear on because there's a lot of misinformation. I've seen on social media people get a lot of erroneous information. The digital nomad visa only gives me 6 months. If I have 6 months with my tourist permit, why would I get the digital nomad visa? That's false. I mean, it depends on of course, it's under the discretion of the Colombian government. And another thing to clarify, people say, well, I want the 2 years of the digital nomad visa. It's the government, it's under the discretion again of the Colombian government. So they can give you the 2 years or they can give you 1 year. With my clients, I've never received less than a year. And it all depends on the way of strategy, everything you do with the way you file and the process and everything. So that give you 6 months is probably somebody that just just filed it incorrectly, didn't get the correct policy. There's a lot of factors. So if you do this correctly, if you were guided correctly, then you have more of an opportunity to get this visa of the full time. I'm not guaranteeing that, but it just betters the chances. Okay, passport requirement, like in any country, of course, applicants must possess a valid passport from a country or territory exempted from short stay visas. Most of the passports have, this exemption where you can come in with a tourist permit, but there's a lot of countries that don't. If you're not sure, just make sure that before you come into Colombia, this is something that's valid, that your passport of wherever country you're from exempts you from coming in with a tourist permit. The United States, for example, is exempted. Europe, most of Europe, Canada, a lot of countries, but there are some countries that do have to come in with a tourist, with a visa before coming into Colombia. But the other countries don't. You can just come in with your passport. You have your 90 days plus another 90 days. Another requirement, proof of remote work, evidence of remote work engagement, such as a letter or contract from one or more foreign companies or proof of foreign company co-ownership indicating remote work is required. Let me explain. Um, what's the letter for? The letter is a verification letter that kind of outlines the scope of your contract, for example, the duration of your contract, um, you know, for example, your salary, when did you start, basic information. Um, and that's what it's something that's very common within companies. Some companies don't, verification letters. Some companies like, well, oh, we don't do this. That's why, with us, we draft up this letter, we draft it up for you so that you don't have to worry about if your company says, look, we don't do this, or we've never done this. So we can help you with this verification letter. And something that we always ask our clients for is a contract. A lot of people say, well, I'm not a direct employee. You don't have to be a direct employee. You can be a freelancer or a contractor and have a service agreement. A service agreement is different from an employment agreement because you're a direct, because with the employment agreement, you're a direct employee. With the service agreement, you are a person that's independent, that is there to help with a certain project that you make a certain amount of money for that project. But those two are valid. So for the people that are worried, oh, but I have to have a job, it has to be a direct employment. No, that's not true. You can have a service agreement as well. Okay, income requirements. Applicants are required to demonstrate a minimum income equivalent to 3 times the legal monthly minimum wage. That's around $770 per month over the past 3 months using bank statements. Let me explain. Um, these $770 is what is today because there's an exchange rate. The way that the Colombian government kind of sums everything up or they use this type of monetary adjustment to comply with certain requirements is minimum wage. For example, right now in Colombia, minimum wage is 1,160,000 pesos. So if you compute or you add, the three minimum wages, then it comes out to 700. If you convert it to today's exchange rate, it's around $770. That can change next year because minimum wage can increase. So I'm giving you this amount for today. If you guys want to start your visa process today, this is how much they're requiring. A lot of people tell me, Caesar, can I just get 770, put on the contract, just so they know that I'm complying with the minimum? No, I mean, usually it's best people make more than this. And if you're making the exact amount, it kind of puts you in a situation it's you're compliant, but it's best to always make a little bit more. If I know there's a lot of people are making more than this. So as long as you comply with this, we do need bank statements, or you will need bank statements to show that you're making this, this amount within the last 3 months. So as long as you have that to show, you comply with the requirements to obtain a digital nomad visa. Okay, this is a topic that I've seen a lot of people, request information on, and some people get confused. Well, let me clarify some things. After doing this for since October, which it was the first time the digital nomads visas started in Colombia, I've seen different situations, different um, requests from the government. Basically, what they request is a comprehensive health policy that provides coverage for various risks, including accidents, illness, maternity, disability, hospitalization, death, or repatriation throughout the entire state is mandatory. Well, a lot of guys, a lot of gentlemen, they say, Caesar, but what about the maternity? Don't worry. It's just, you don't have to comply with that one. But the health insurance, the most important thing is that it has to be a travel insurance. It can't be local insurance, for example, the health insurance here in Colombia or an EPS. It has to be a travel insurance I recommend a well-known company that provides, coverage during your stay. What does that mean? It means that if you're thinking of staying in Colombia for 1 year, or you're saying, then have coverage for the time that you want to be here. Get a policy that covers you that time. It's very important that in the policy it indicates a beginning and an end date, because I've had a lot of requests from the government saying, look, in the beginning, of course, they were like, no, it has to show a beginning and an end date. So it's very important that it has a beginning and date, coverage in Colombia, because that's something that's very important. Or another option is, for example, a lot of policies say coverage worldwide except Europe. Okay, so implicitly that means that the Colombia is covered. As long as that is shown in that matter, or it says directly in Colombia, that's very important. Fortunately, we have an alliance with Assistcard. They've been helping us tremendously. They offer discounts to our clients. If you contract with us, we can give you all the details. You can talk to our partner in Assistcard, and he's a great person. He writes very well in English, doesn't speak it, but he writes very well. He can take care of you. But it's not mandatory to, if you don't want to go with Assistcard, there's many other travel insurance companies. Safety Wings, there's Worldwide Insurance. There's different. I would always investigate first, get a quote, make sure that they comply with what I just mentioned, the time, because if it doesn't show that you're covered during your stay, then it's not going to work. It's something that's important, that it has coverage during your stay, and that it covers these points that I just mentioned: accident, illness, disability, hospitalization, etc. My recommendations and tips to apply for obtaining a digital nomad visa in Colombia. Early application. Begin the visa application process well ahead of your planned travel date, taking into account the up to 30-day review period under Colombian law. A lot of people contact me to help them with their visa process, and sometimes they talk to me like weeks before their visa is going to expire. That 180 days is going to expire. So I don't recommend this. I recommend that you do it with time. You do it ahead of time. I'm not saying that once you come into Colombia, you have to get your digital nomad visa. No, but give yourself enough time, because I usually recommend at least 3 months, 2 months, because the thing is that the Colombian government, it's not that you just apply. They have something that's called a requerimiento, and they're doing that under this new law. They're doing that, I mean, exhaustively. I mean, just they're doing it for everything. So it's important to have enough time to strategize. And if they request more information, see how you can get that new information they're requesting. What we do is that we help our clients with that. We answer in their name. And if there's something that we need from the client, we'll let them know. Or many times, the government's wrong. I've had instances with this new digital nomad visa where they requested from a client of mine the letter to be translated from official translated in Colombia and apostilled. I didn't see that in the law. So what I did is I answered back to the Colombian government. I said, this is not, it's not in the law. It doesn't require, it says that the letter could be in English or Spanish, and it doesn't say that it has to be translated or apostilled. So if you've seen a lot of people on social media, they're like, oh, they're saying, they're asking, there's a way of, just answering back to the government. And that's what we do. We draft up a letter, we answer them back and let them know, look, you're making a mistake. It's not in the law. So please, just take the process to the next step. So again, just to resume, please give yourself enough time. Don't wait until the last minute, because then you're going to become illegal. And then in case there's a requerimiento, which is a request, then, it just gets a little bit crazy. So my advice. Document preparation. Comply all essential documents, including proof of income, health insurance, and letters from foreign employers. Translation of these documents is not necessary. Like I said, it's important that you organize yourself, if you're going to do it yourself, or if you want to contract our services. What we do is we compile all this information, we guide you, and we let you know if there's something that's not compliant, if we have to do something over, if we have to draft the letter, if we have to, the documentation's not in the right order. We take care of all of this. We do 2 checklists once we receive it from our clients, and then at the end, before we send in the information, we do another checklist. But if you're thinking of doing it yourself, just be careful. If you don't comply with something, then they'll return it. They'll do a requerimiento. You may be able to answer back, you may not, or worse, which is an admission, and you have to start all over again. So document preparation is very important. If you contract our services and you send it over, it's very important that we send you an email with all the requirements and questions, and then just very, very attentive to all the information needed, and then we'll take care of everything else. Income verification. Verify that your income meets the threshold of 3 times the legal monthly minimum wage, backed up with bank statements from past 3 months. Like I mentioned before, just verify. It's very important that the statements have your name, because a lot of people send in statements from, I don't know, Payoneer or platforms. It's not that they won't work, but just make sure that if it's from a platform, from PayPal, it's just send in the ones that have your name. And because a lot of people send in from companies or it doesn't have that information. So it's not that it's impossible, because if you're in a country where that's not the norm, we can help you. We can draft a letter, explain the situation, or you can explain it as well. But it's very important that these points are very clear. That and something else, the government doesn't request the statement to have all of the information, all of the pages of the statement, just the main page where it has all the basic information, your name, and the amount that shows that you're making that every month. The health insurance. Obtain comprehensive health insurance coverage in Colombia for at least 1 year, preferably covering the entire 2-year duration of the visa. Like I mentioned before, it's just important. Don't get a policy for 3 months, because the Colombian government ties everything mostly to the policy. So if you get a policy for 2 months, it's not going to work. It's always important to get, at least if you're thinking of 1 year, 1 year. If you're getting 2 years, 2 years. The good thing that our alliance with Assist Card is that they help us with our clients, and they give you 1 year and another year on paper. It's not going to cover you for the additional year, but at least it helps you to get a better chance of obtaining the 2-year visa. But whatever company you choose, just very important. Don't let them, tell you, "Whoa, we can only give you 3 or 6 months." Tell them, depending on what time you want, get that time. 1 year, 2 years. Remember, maximum timing for the digital nomad visa is 2 years. Legal support. Consider enlisting legal assistance to guarantee your application aligns with government regulations, helping you avoid mistakes that might lead to a restart of the application, and just getting more expensive. You're going to have to start all over. You have to pay for a new process. And, that's not the idea. I mean, a lot of people ask me, Caesar, do I need to do this? No, you don't need to. You can do it yourself. I mean, you can do it yourself. But why do I recommend it? Because there's a lot, especially after October of last year, things are a bit more complicated. The government's requesting more information. So what we do is we draft letters, we explain things, and also we explain things to our clients. We tell them, look, they're requesting this because sometimes the requerimientos are in Spanish, and then you have to go and translate it and try to understand it, what they're trying to ask you. So what we do is we understand both worlds. We understand, Colombian law and a little bit of, laws from other countries. So we'll explain to you, look, they're requesting, for example, information from your health provider in the States, or they're requesting this, or they're requesting a letter, we'll draft it up for you. But, it's always best to have this legal counsel so that you don't make mistakes. I mean, it's a tedious process. It's a process that I've been doing for years, and it doesn't get, I mean, it doesn't get easier, especially after that new change in October of last year. So I always recommend, if it's not with us, it's with a certified attorney, licensed attorney, verify that. We can verify that for you as well here. We have our licenses, we have our permissions and everything, our certifications. But yeah, just make sure that you're guided correctly and stay away from certain opinions on social media. My recommendation, there's a lot of misinformation. Always consult with experts. There's a lot of misinformation in regards to taxes, the visas, etc. It's always good to have that information, but just always confirm it as well. Because not everything, I'm not saying that, a lot of information is shared on social media is incorrect, but, just verify, because I've seen a lot of information that I'm like, oh my God, that's not true. So just have that support. I mean, it's a low fee. We only charge $250 for our legal services, with everything, just from filing, from legal counsel, from getting your cellular, from everything. So, it's a small fee to go through all the, headaches of trying to answer to the government, trying to draft the letters, trying to understand what they're requesting. And it's not always like that. I mean, something can go perfectly, but it's always important to have this knowledge and support. Okay, let's see. And okay, taxes. Before I begin with taxes, I do have to make a disclaimer that this is general information. It's always best to do it with a specialist in taxes. We have Olga here. I'll try to present her at the end. She's the expert. Everything's case by case. There's a lot of information that it kind of confuses people, and they get, scared, of course, because you don't understand the laws and you understand certain aspects of taxes in Colombia. So, just as a disclaimer, this is general information. Every case is different. Everything's case by case. So we will provide this information to you, but I recommend always sitting down with the expert. And, if you want to contact us for this, we can do that, have a meeting and get the service for you. But, every case is different. Everything's case by case. So this is information in general, not for every particular case. Okay, so let's begin with resident versus non-resident. Tax obligations in Colombia depend on your residency status. If you stay more than 183 days in the fiscal period, you may be considered a tax resident and be required to pay taxes on worldwide income. This is a topic that, like I mentioned, has to be case by case, because, for example, if you have a credit card in Colombia, you have your cellular society, you got a credit card, and you start purchasing with your Colombian credit card in Colombia, then there's a certain, of course, you have to look at this tax situation. If you open up a bank account in Colombia and you start receiving money from the United States into your Colombian bank account, of course, you have to consult with the expert, sit down, take a look at things, and see what tax situation you have. But in a lot of times there's a confusion. A lot of people think that filing is the same as paying. There's a lot of times that you will have to file, you have to do a declaración or declare taxes. It doesn't always mean you have to pay taxes. So that's why it's a case by case. A lot of times, expats, digital nomads, and digital nomads don't have to pay taxes because mostly all their income is from abroad, and they don't have accounts, and they don't have Colombian credit cards. They don't have Colombian accounts here in but depends. It depends on case by case. Like I mentioned, if down the road you want to consult, it's always best to consult. But if you don't have anything here, remember you are obligated if you're staying at 183 to declare taxes, but it doesn't always mean that you have to pay taxes. Double taxation agreements. Check if your home country has a double taxation agreement with Colombia to avoid paying taxes, a tax on the same income twice. So it's very important that um, every country has different agreements. For example, with Colombia with Spain, Colombia with Canada. But you check with the country where you're from if you have a tax treaty with Colombia, because many times you don't have to pay double. You don't have to do a double tax, pay taxes twice. But like I said, always check with the experts, verify this information, and then down the road, if you want to sit down with our accountant to take a look at this, we'll be glad to assist you with the service. Foreign income. Tax laws regarding foreign income can be complex. It's recommended to consult with a tax professional familiar with Colombian taxes. Like I mentioned, we have Olga here. She's in the group, and it's always best to always consult with the expert. Olga, she's great. She's always been helping expats. We've had different meetings where we sit down with the client, and they have a consultation when the time comes, and then we help them. And Olga helps them and guides them on what to do if they have to do a declaración. And she'll let you know, okay, look, you don't have to pay taxes because there wasn't any local movement during your stay. But like I said, this everything's case by case. It's always good to consult with Olga. Um, I'll have her join us at the end so she can introduce herself, and you can get to see her. She's a great person, very professional. Highly recommend Olga. Okay, tax returns. If you are considered a tax resident, you will need to file an annual tax return in Colombia. Like I mentioned, if a lot of times you have to file, but you don't have to pay. So after 183, you will then have to do a declaración with Olga. If you want to do it with Olga, or if you have your own personal CPA in Colombia that can help you. And it's always important to check these things. It's always important that if you're going to stay a long term in Colombia, make sure you're compliant. You're not running into issues with taxes, with local laws, with immigration laws as well, because certain visas, for example, the digital nomad visa doesn't permit you to work here in Colombia. These are things, basic things that are very important, very good to learn about. And VAT or tax applies to most goods and services in Colombia. As a consumer, you're responsible for these taxes at point of sale. So as you know, if you purchase, of course, if you purchase something, you will be, they will charge you taxes. I mean, if any service, if you go to a Carulla or you go to an Éxito, of course, you're responsible for tax. What a lot of people do is then if they're traveling as a tourist, they just go when they exit the airport, they go to the DIAN, which is kind of like the IRS equivalent, I guess, entity responsible for taxes, and they just take their receipts, and a lot of times the government at these points they'll reimburse for whatever taxes you spend here in the country. As you know, there's also duty frees and things like that. But if you're here in local stores and everything, of course you're gonna have to pay taxes. Okay, this is a testimony. We're also going to try to have Francois, and he's here to give his testimony as well. But let me show you a video of Andrea Gardner. He's one of our clients. She was, she contacted me from Florida, and she needed her digital nomad visa. And a great person, great client of ours, and she shared her testimony. So you guys can take a look.
Was working with Caesar, who was longer and those questions about people's animals, safe day, good consultation with me, good getting my group. It's 11 days. It was incredibly fast, and I couldn't be more happy with the service I've seen. So thank you to Caesar and to this group.
Okay, now we're going to share let's see if we have here our dear friend and client, Francois. Francois, let me go ahead and open up your mic.
Hola. Hola, hola. Sí,
Hello.
¿cómo está? ¿Cómo está?
Muy bien, Francois, how are you?
Thank you very much. I'm very good. Muy bien. Aprender de español. I've been here since November, now 6 months, and I use Caesar services. But very happy I did, because time is money, and I don't have the time to do this. And if you make a little mistake, you may end up having to do it again. And since I'm not fluent in Spanish, filling that form is a bit scary. So just the price of doing it twice is worth the services of Caesar. Caesar is very professional, as you can see. He speaks English fluently, and he is very thorough. He helped me with this and other legal matter in Colombia, and I couldn't recommend him more. Also, I would like to point out, I read a lot, and Caesar is right. There's a lot of bad information on social media, especially on WhatsApp groups and Facebook. And don't take that information as the truth, because everybody's an expert on WhatsApp. So I just want to say also with Caesar, it took me actually it was in February, and all in all, it took me 2 weeks to get my digital nomad visa. I don't know if it's still 2 weeks today. Maybe there's more demand nowadays, but through and also I know that legal lawyers have resources with the government that as an individual you don't have. Like they can put some pressure on the civil servants, quote quote, to deliver the social media. So that's my testimonial. I hope you heard me properly. I hope I didn't break my English too much. I'm a French Canadian. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I appreciate your testimony. It's Francois, he's a great individual. It was great working for Francois, helping him with his visa process. And yeah, I mean, it's always important to have advice and just be surrounded by people that can give you the right counseling. It helps avoid a lot of mistakes. And thank you so much, Francois. Pleasure. And let's continue. Okay, so now we're at the questions part. We can't take all questions, unfortunately, but don't worry. What we can also do is, you write your questions, and then we'll, answer them back. I'll take a look at some questions, and let's see. I saw some questions from participants. Let's see. I'm sorry. 1 second, please. Okay, if you want, if you guys want, share, if you can raise your hand, with digitally, of course. Let me see if I can see any hands. Okay, let's see. Nadia. Let's take a look at Nadia. Hello, Nadia. How are you?
Hello, good. What time is there? Good afternoon, I guess. So thank you very much, Cesar, for making this webinar. So this is like a very, very important webinar for us and for the community of digital nomads in Colombia. So I'm very, very excited that you are helping our community. So first of all, so let me introduce myself. So my name is Nadia, and I am the president of the Digital Nomads Association Colombia. And Cesar and his team is part of our association. So they have a partnership with the Digital Nomads Association in Colombia, so which is like a very, very important thing for nomads that they are planning or they are already in Colombia. Because so Cesar is like a very reliable and trustful person. So that's the reason why I want to thank Cesar for making this possible, and because also he has been helpful with several nomads in our association, including Francois, that he is also part of the association as a co-founder. So but I also have a question, of course, because it's like there's so many things, and also I get all the time like questions from the nomads. They are like some questions that I normally can answer when in our Facebook group or in our Instagram account. So, but I want to clarify something, and there are many misunderstandings related to the visa. I believe that people have misunderstood the law or the resolution, or when people literally translate it from English to Spanish, or when they just put it on Google Translate regarding specifically to the duration of the visa, because many people understand somehow, I don't know, that the visa is only for 6 months and majority of nationalities, so you have 6 months of tourism in the country. So even when I read that resolution, I am native Spanish speaker, so it took me a while to understand. So it is not easy to understand that, even for a native speaker. So, but I just want to clarify, like, if it is correct, and that the visa is really up to those 2 years, because some people, they say, no, that's not true. It is false. And as far as I understand, it's at the discretion of the government to decide if they give you a year or 2 or year and a half or year 2 months or whatever. So I think now this is clear for me. So it's at the discretion of the government. But some people, and this is my question, some people, they are asking me all the time if the duration of the visa is related more to the time of your health insurance. So if you buy a health insurance for 1 year, you will get 1 year visa, and so on with other duration. So this is my question. Thank you, Cesar.
Okay, thank you, Anaya. It's a very important question. Thank you. Yes, I mean, a lot of people ask me this question, and what I can say is that the Colombian government, they have their own criteria. I mean, a lot of times it doesn't make sense. A lot of times, you have people that have all the requirements for the 2 years, and they'll probably give you a year and 6 months, a year and 7 months. So, having the policy does increase your chances, but it doesn't guarantee that you're going to have the 2 years. You know, it makes your chances better. You can have a better opportunity of having a longer stay visa, but every immigration officer is different. They have their own criteria, and they'll grant the visa at whatever time they consider. So, I mean, I can't guarantee that if you get a 2-year policy, that's going to be a guarantee, because unfortunately with the Colombian government, there isn't a guarantee. Everything's under their discretion, but things like these help to get a better chance of a more extensive visa of almost 2 years. So I hope that answers your question, but yeah, it's a little bit, especially with this new resolution. What happened is that in October, they kind of did a transition from the old law to the new law. So there was a lot of people from inside sources, they informed me, there's a lot of people that are being hired brand new that didn't understand this topic very well. I'm not sure if that's from valid information, but it was detectable because every time there's a transition, these things happen. And in 2017, 2018, there was another transition of immigration law, and it was a very difficult transition. And this one wasn't an exception. At the beginning, when I first started the first digital nomad visas, the platform was not working correctly. The payment links weren't working correctly. Little by little, they fixed these things, but there's still issues. So to answer your question, I can't guarantee that. Like I said, it's these immigration officers have their own criteria, but it does help. It does help to have a longer longer coverage, but it won't guarantee you have 2 years because it's under government discretion. Let's see. Let's see if we can talk. I won't get to everyone. I'm sorry. I apologize, but I'll try to take some questions. We'll go with Brooke, one more, and then we'll see if we have enough time. If not, just leave your questions on the chat, and we'll get back to all your questions, and no problem. So let's see, Brooke.
Hello, Cesar. Thank you for hosting. My question was this: I'm a part owner of a foreign business, and I do believe that my income would qualify. I don't need to stay for a whole year. I need to stay for like an extra month or two after my 180 days expire from the tourist. And I'm curious what my smartest pathway would be. Would it be to apply for a digital nomad visa and just use it for a month or two? Is a salvoconducto possible? I didn't know what options might be out there.
Okay, so your question, Brooke, is that you're going to be staying, your 180 days is almost up, is that correct?
Correct, July 10th.
July 10th. Okay, and you want the possibility of staying like at least another month or two?
Yeah, another month or two. Surprisingly, I had a son here via surrogacy, and I'm trying to get him 6 months of breast milk. So that's why.
Well, to be honest, Brooke, I mean, the digital nomad visa wouldn't be your best choice. Because if you're looking for something short stay and like that, I mean, the digital nomad visa is more of an option if you're looking into staying a longer period, maybe a year or more. But in this case, with right now, for the extensions, if you already completed your extension of 180 days during this year, because remember, the 180 days is every year. So if in January, from January to here, you're almost going to complete those 180 days, they might give you an extension for another month, but if you're completing this time, it's going to be very chaotic for you. I mean, it's not going to be, I mean, the only thing that I can recommend is, if it's an emergency, you can stay in the country And then when you leave, you might have to pay a fine, which I don't think is a viable choice. But if it's an emergency, that's what a lot of people have done. If you don't have 180 days, from this year, and they might, they might give you an extension or a salvoconducto. But right now, that topic is really complicated because a lot of people are going to Migración, and there's a new law that's Article 111, where they're saying that they can extend your time. But there's, like I said, since it's a new law, even the workers or the immigration officers are very confused on a lot of topics. So it's very hard to actually give you a visa option, because the visa options are mostly for longer stays. If it's something that you would like to try, but I don't see the cost, because even if you do it yourself, there's a cost. It's like 200 and something dollars. So I don't know if it's really a viable option for you, to spend that money for a visa that might be granted for more time, because the idea is that they want to give you more than 3 months so that they can give you a cédula de extranjería, and everything related to that type of visa. But if your 180 days is up, like I mentioned, there's different option, and but the best option I can give you is just trying to see if maybe Migración, due to the situation, gives you an extension, or what a lot of people do is they just stay whatever time, and then they go to the airport El Dorado, and they go to to the Migration office in El Dorado, and they just explain the situation. And a lot of times they can just leave, and they'll say that they'll give them a fine, but they'll email the fine. They never do. That's another option. But the visa option, it's not, if it's not something that you're actually going to use, if you're not going to use a Celeste idea, then I don't see that's a viable choice for you.
Okay, I really appreciate your expertise. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for your question. All right, let's see. Let's go with one more question. John Park.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Hi, John. How are you?
Good. Thanks for taking the time to answer my question. I have a very specific tax question. So I'm currently in Colombia, and I've talked to a lot of foreigners. I know what makes taxes here in general, not just for the digital nomad visa, affordable for many expats, is that you can get credit for taxes you paid abroad, like let's say in the United States, for your Colombian taxes. So it kind of ends up evening out. But I'm wondering, one concern I have with the digital nomad visa, which I don't have an answer to after talking to like some accountants here, is that you can deduct foreign taxes paid abroad for what's considered foreign sourced income. But for like Colombian sourced income, that's in question. And for me, like I think Colombia bases whether your income is like Colombian sourced or foreign sourced based on physical presence. So with the digital nomad visa specifically, they have documentation that you're working here from Colombia. And I'm wondering if you're following the tax laws here, if you can deduct, like let's say taxes you pay in the United States at all, or not. Because essentially, if you can't, it essentially means you're double taxed, unless Colombia and the country you're from specifically has a tax treaty, I guess. It's a complicated question, but
Okay. Well, no, I appreciate that, John. Like I mentioned, the tax questions are something more of, case by case. If you'd like, send me a message, and then we can take a look at it with Olga, and we can give you a general answer in regard to that specific topic. Because with taxes, it's something very specific. It's a case by case. But if you want, just write me a message, and I'll be glad to answer that with Olga.
Right. I'd love to do a consultation with Olga if she's available. So that'd be great. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And last question, Marcio. I'm sorry. Please forgive me if I'm
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Marshall.
Hi there, you're all right. Thank you for doing this, by the way.
Oh, no, my pleasure.
I just had a question about one was like, do you know if you get the visa approved, do you and say you go back to your home country for say like a couple of months, is that gonna like affect the visa at all? And second was like with the fee that to use yourselves, obviously, what are the visa charges on top of that and stuff like that?
Okay. Yeah, thank you for your question, Marcio. Um, yeah, if you get approved a visa, what the Colombian government, requests is that you don't stay abroad more than 180 days. So, at least you come back, just enter, come back, or leave, even for a couple of days or weekend, just go back, just so that, they see that your intention, that all the work that was put into getting the visa and that they granted it to you, it's not just for coming in for a couple of months and then just left. So that's always something that I always recommend to my clients and tell them, look, just be careful. If you're gonna travel, I mean, do it by all means, but just be careful with the times. If you're gonna be more than 180 days, try before that time expires. Just come in, come out, just quick trip. That at least it doesn't put you into that risk of getting your visa canceled.
Okay.
And in regards to the fees, there are some government fees. It depends on the type of visa. For example, for the digital nomad visa, it's around $280, which is 52, I believe, to begin the review set part of the visa. That's something that the government charges, and then
Okay.
once the visa are approved, they charge the rest. What we do with our clients is once that happens, we'll send them the government link. You can pay with a credit card directly to them, and then you get your visa, and then they'll send us a digital version of your visa so you can use.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. Currently, I've just come back from Bogota and I'm supposed to be heading back, and my partner lives there. And we were just wondering like about extending as well. So say you get 1 or 2 years approved, is the extension process as complicated or expensive as the application, or?
I'm sorry. So
No,
did you mean to, I'm sorry.
If I had to extend, say you get approved 1 year and then your year is up, or you get approved 2 years and your 2 years up, and you wanted to extend that nomad visa, is that like, is it as expensive for that stuff, or is it like cheaper because it's an extension, or how does that work?
Well, the government doesn't limit you for requiring application because it's not an extension of the digital nomad visa. Every application's new. So,
Okay.
for example, your application expired, your visa expired. You can reapply for another digital nomad visa. The government doesn't limit you from doing that. If you comply with the requirements, if you comply with everything, then a new visa application can be established.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. All right, guys, the question part of this section is final. I'm sorry for whoever I didn't get to get your questions. Please write them down, and I'll get to those questions that I didn't get to answer shortly. Next, to finalize, for example, some of the questions that are always asked is, can I apply for a visa while I'm abroad? Yes. What we do is we do the whole process through the Colombian consulates. So, for example, if you're in the United States, for example, with Andrea, the person for the video, I believe she was in Orlando, and we did everything through the consulate. We did the whole application through the consulate, and then we got a response for her digital nomad visa, and that's what she entered with. So yes, you can do it through consulate. You can do it from abroad. You don't have to be in Colombia to get your visa approved. What answer should I receive back from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? These applications could be approved, required, not approved, or denied, with the government's right to exercise autonomy and discretion. So the best option, the best answer that I get is approved. When I get this, I love calling my clients and tell them, look, you got your visa approved. The one that that's normal, especially with this new laws, requerimiento or required, That's when we have to draft a letter. We have to explain, if something is not within the law what they're requesting. Non-approved, which is that you have to start all over again, or denied, which means that, for the next 6 months, you can't apply for another visa. What documents need to be apostilled or legalized? Consider every document brought from another country needs to be apostilled or legalized, and if necessary, translated to Spanish by an official Colombian translator. This depends. For example, diplomas, birth certificates, marriage certificates, they have to be apostilled from the if you, example, you live in the United States, you have to get apostilled from the state where you have, for this document expedited. Then when you get it apostilled, not for this type of visa, but for another type of visa, for example, a marriage visa, you send it over to Colombia. We have it translated with our certified translator. It can't be any translator, a friend that doesn't have a license, none of that. It has to be an official translator from Colombia, certified by Colombian government, from a Colombian educational institute. And that would be it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for participating in this webinar. This is the first of many. We'll be covering other topics as well. It was great having you. Thank you so much for participating, for joining this webinar. It was a pleasure meeting all of you. Thank you for your questions. Very great, very good questions provided by all of you. Thank you so much. And like I said, this is our contact. We have this is our WhatsApp 300-375-3032, the Colombian number. If you want to visit our website, also follow us on Instagram, very important, so that you can get updates, news, legal advice, tips, etc. And to finalize, let me try and get Olga so that she can speak, and then you guys can hear a little bit. She speaks Spanish, but she's a great person. She doesn't speak English, but I can translate it, but it would be nice for you guys to meet her. She's a great person. Let me try 1 second, please. We'll do this to finalize. Olga. Hello, Olga.
Hola César, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. So guys, this is Olga. She's the accountant. Olga, si quieres te puedes presentar. Tu nombre, poquito.
Buenas tardes para todos. Yo soy Olga Lucía Silva, contadora de profesión. Digamos, mi especialidad es temas de impuestos, auditorías. Hacemos acompañamiento a la firma Castro Salazar en todo lo que tiene que ver con temas tributarios. Soportamos revisorías fiscales, auditorías de nómina, auditorías de estados financieros y declaraciones de renta, tanto personas naturales como jurídicas. La experiencia de nosotros es ya 15 años en el campo y pues estamos prestos a lo que ustedes puedan requerir.
Okay, just for anybody, I'm going to translate. Gracias, Olga. Te agradezco mucho. Yeah, so Olga, she has 15 years experience. She's with us. Great person. In case you guys get to that point where you need to start thinking about your taxes, filing, consultations, anything, just let us know and we'll be glad to help. She's a great person. What we do is that I know a lot of you don't speak Spanish yet. You're going to get to that, I know, because you're going to take your classes, you're going to learn soon. But in the meantime, what I do is I join the meeting and I'm kind of the interpreter, so that anybody that doesn't understand Spanish, I can be the interpreter. I can translate the information. I'm very knowledgeable as well with accounting terms for Colombia, even though I'm not an expert, but I can help you guys understand the difficult topics. Thank you so much, guys. It was a great having you here. Please, if you ever need us, don't hesitate to contact us. And thank you for this time, for joining, and I hope to see you again. We'll do one soon enough. Thank you so much.